Welcome to Mac Talk, a Middle Tennessee podcast from Mont Haven Arts and Cultural Center in Hendersonville, Tennessee. I'm your announcer, Kennedy Galpin. Today's episode is brought to you by our friends at Chef's Market. With Chef's Market, it's not just food, it's an experience.
Thank you, Kennedy, and welcome everyone to Mac Talk. I'm your host, John Pitcher. We like to think of the Mac as a cultural town square where we encourage everyone to be their creative best. So, Kennedy, what sort of creative things have you been up to?
So, this week I actually got to see Dolly the Musical at Belmont University.
So, we're going to get a review of Dolly the Musical. Well, I know absolutely nothing about Dolly the Musical, so talk to me about it.
It is an autobiographical musical about her life. I think this is technically previews for it because I think it's going to move on to Broadway or travel or something. I'm not entirely sure myself. So they were actually tweaking it slightly. We had a few cut songs from our experience, but it was good. Mm-hmm. I thought it was a good time. It was cute.
Okay.
Good costuming.
Give me a little bit of background on it. What's a little bit of the plot? What are we doing
So
here?
it kind of goes through Dolly's life. It starts out with her as a young child and then her move to Nashville and her singing at the Opry for the first time and then meeting her husband.
And she was really young when she first...
10 years old, apparently, according to the play.
I think that's right.
So she started then and then moved to Nashville in her early 20s, late teens, from what I can understand. Mm-hmm. And then met her husband, which nobody really knew about. She never really talked about him. And then her meeting Porter Wagner. And the intermission starts kind of as she's meeting Porter, as they form, I guess, an attachment, bond, friendship, partnership, I guess is the word I should say. And then intermission picks back up after 7 years and they split. Mm-hmm. And then it kind of goes through the rest of her life.
Okay.
So it's good.
How's the singing?
Good. I thought it was good. There are 3 actresses playing Dolly. The oldest one...
That's right. You have to for live, right?
Yes.
Okay.
So, yes. So, the oldest one that plays... So, it's little Dolly. Dolly is like the middle Dolly. And then Dolly Parton is the old Dolly. Quote, unquote, old Dolly. She does the best impression, I would say.
Okay.
Little Dolly still is... I hate to say it, struggling with the accent, but that's kind of normal with an Appalachian accent. It's very thick. I get it.
Right.
But it's really good.
But yeah, but
there's some heavy hitter songs.
We can suspend our disbelief on the Pigeon Forge accent thing.
I mean, I lived up there for 4 years.
Well, that you did. You went to East Tennessee State.
I'm kind of biased.
Okay.
But
so you're also you know you're authentic.
I know the accent. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, you know what's going on.
But it does have original scores with music that she wrote with a couple other people. I'm not sure the names off the top of the dome, and then it has her heavy hitters. You have Jolene, you have Tennessee Mountain Home, you have Songbird, I believe is a heavy hitter song. Just stuff like that. I mean, it's good. It's a good time.
Okay.
Recommend it.
So, okay. That's important. It's I have not seen it yet, but now you've made me want to go.
It's fun.
Absolutely terrific. And I'm so glad that you decided to talk a little bit about theater since our guest today is a little bit involved with theater. Let's go ahead and introduce today's guest. Isabel Tipton-Krispin is the executive director of Nashville Shakespeare Festival. She's here today to talk with us about the upcoming summer production of The Merry Wives of Windsor. We'll also ask her a few questions about the festival's new artistic director, Jason Spelbring. And we'll also ask a few questions about a play called Fat Ham. More about that later. We're excited that Isabel is here with us. Isabel Tipton-Krispin, welcome to Mac Talk.
Thank you for having me.
Well, just for starters, what's new at Nashville Shakespeare Festival? I understand you guys have a new artistic director.
Yes, it's so many new things happening at Nashville Shakespeare Festival.
Well, let's hear about it.
Yeah, Jason Michael Spelbring is our new artistic director, and he has been with us a little under a year now. He started September 2nd last year, so coming on the year anniversary. And he joined us from Utah. He did a lot of work at the Utah Shakespeare Festival, was an associate professor at Utah State University, and was the associate artistic director of the Lyric Repertory Theater there. So he's been on the team since last year. And since then, it's just been a really wonderful period of getting to know each other and him getting to know our community and growth. And we just announced our new season. So that's another new thing for us. We've expanded our season, and next season we will be returning to Centennial Park.
Okay.
So, plus lots of new things in between that. So it's been a really wonderful time at the festival where we have been growing on our legacy and all the tradition of the time before. Our former executive artistic director, Denise Hicks, just laid such a beautiful foundation, and we're continuing to just build upon her legacy.
Yeah, I remember Denise telling me that she felt like she could retire because she felt like the Shakespeare Festival was in a good place.
Yes, and I'm so honored that she feels that way, and especially coming from her, I'm just really happy to take her mantle and run with it.
Okay. Well, a little bit more about your artistic director, Jason. What does he bring to the festival? What sort of new thing does he bring to it? I mean, I believe, did I read somewhere that one of his specialties is like stage combat or?
Yeah. So
great for Shakespeare, right?
Oh yes. He specializes in stage combat and also something called intimacy direction, which is a newer art form within the theater space, but much like you would choreograph a dance and you would choreograph a fight on stage, he works with actors to choreograph moments of intimacy.
Okay.
So if people share a kiss on stage, or they hold hands, or, they have to ride on, each other's back, like piggyback or something like that, he choreographs all of that. So it's something that's kind of baked into the cake of the show, in the same way some other things would be. And in addition to that, he comes from the Mountain West, and Utah Shakespeare Festival is one of the biggest Shakespeare festivals in the country. So he has worked with them for over a decade on and off in a variety of roles, and it's really been amazing for him to take his experience from there and other Shakespeare festivals from across the country and apply it to Nashville Shakespeare Festival. He also is just a great listener. When he came on, he said, I want to go on a listening tour. He's not here to start changing, throwing the baby out with the bathwater, if you will. So it's been really awesome for him to come here and get to know our community and take some of the things he's learned throughout his career and apply it to us so we can continue to grow.
Wow. Well, how great for Nashville. And what I can kind of see from there of him bringing to the stage is a very energetic, active, physical side
Yes.
to the productions, which is really important for Shakespeare.
Oh, yeah.
But also the more reflective sides and introspective sides, which can get a little bit lost since that dialogue is itself, of another time.
Yeah. And one thing that he really stresses, and something that Denise stressed as well, is always focusing back on the text, making sure the text is clear, speak the words trippingly on the tongue, as the words of the player's speech in Hamlet, but focusing on the text and making sure it's clear for the audience and clear for the actors, and just letting the words and the prose and the poetry speak for itself.
Yeah. Okay. We're speaking with Nashville Shakespeare Festival Executive Director Isabel Tipton-Krispin. We'll be back after this important message.
Chef's Market is a strong supporter of arts education. That's because the arts foster creativity, critical thinking, and emotional expression. They also enhance communication skills and cultural awareness while boosting confidence and collaboration. Students engaged in the arts often perform better academically and develop a lifelong appreciation for learning. This message was brought to you by Chef's Market. With Chef's Market, it's not just food, it's an experience. For more information, go to chefsmarket.com.
We're back with Nashville Shakespeare Festival Executive Director Isabel Tipton-Krispin. The festival's summer production of The Merry Wives of Windsor runs August 21st to September 21st, 2025 at the Yard at One City. My understanding from doing a little bit of research is that the very first professional production of Shakespeare in the Park that was done here in Nashville, and I believe Denise was involved in that, I believe it was 1990.
Yes.
It was a performance of Merry Wives.
It was.
And which is, of course, the production that's coming this summer.
Yes.
I'm wondering, is that a good production for a artistic director when they're coming the first time out? I'm wondering about the choice here. Yeah. It's a fun production. It doesn't have quite the reputation of King Lear, but it's
Sure.
still, it is a fun production. It has Shakespeare's favorite character, Sir John Falstaff.
Yes.
We get our whole culture has taken something from it. I mean, your world is an oyster.
Yes.
Comes from this particular play, that whole phrase. I mean, we wouldn't be who we are without this particular, light comedy of Shakespeare.
Yeah.
Tell me about that choice.
Yeah. Well, when he was actually in his interview process, he looked at Nashville Shakespeare Festival's repertory to see certain shows that had not been done in a while. So during his interview process, the search committee asked him, if you were selected for this role, what show would you pick for Summer Shakespeare 2025? And we've only done it twice in our history, the 1990 first professional production and in 2007. So it's been nearly 20 years since the last time we've done The Merry Wives of Windsor. And his thought and his concept before he selected a director is he just wants it to be a romp. He wants it to be a fun comedy, he says, with rolling waves of laughter in the audience. Because I think right now the world needs lightness. I think one way that we serve our mission is to create shared community spaces where people can experience joy together or cry together or introspection together and things like that. But this summer, it's just been an explosion of just joy and laughter. So mission accomplished there. And it's, like you said, it features Falstaff and two very clever women. And it's just a fun show.
Yeah, and they definitely are more than his equal in terms of what goes on. Although he's good humored about it in the end. At least in the productions I've seen. Is that I guess the big thing that we're going to see, that people are going to see, is just the lightness, the humor, that sort of side of Shakespeare. Yeah,
I think so. Our director, Becky Baker, has done such a great job at this production. She has done an edit that's about 2 hours, including a 15-minute intermission.
Okay.
So it's nice and zippy and fast-paced. And I think what might surprise people is that Shakespeare's comedy is just as bawdy and clever and all the things you might think of with some comedy today. It's so funny how some of the jokes of over 4 centuries ago lands like jokes you could hear from a comedian in 2025. And the physical comedy and all that. So yeah, and I think one thing it also focuses on is just female friendship and kinship and sisterhood and community. The Merry Wives of Windsor, of course, takes place in Windsor. It's one of Shakespeare's only plays that doesn't focus on royalty or nobility. Everybody in the play is from the town of Windsor. And so it's funny to see kind of the small town politics, if you will, that I certainly grew up with. So yeah, it's just a really great hidden gem.
Okay. Well, speaking of where you grew up, tell me a little bit about yourself. What brought you to Nashville Shakespeare Festival? You've been here for a few years now, right?
Yes, this is my 3rd year. So I actually grew up in Connecticut.
Okay.
My dad is from Tennessee. He's from Kingsport, and my mom is from Brazil. Okay. And we found our way to Connecticut because Connecticut has the 2nd largest Brazilian population outside of Miami.
Okay.
So that's where my family landed, and my dad was a public school music teacher, and my mother was an artist. So grew up experiencing...
So you grew up in the arts.
Yes, and found my way to theater. I graduated from the University of Tennessee in Knoxville, started my career at Knoxville Symphony Orchestra, went to Nashville Ballet.
Now, what did you do at the Knoxville Orchestra?
I did box office.
Okay.
And I was like an administrative assistant. Went to Nashville Ballet for 6 years where I wore a lot of different hats. Okay. And then made my way over to Nashville Shakespeare Festival, and I got my degree in theater. I actually got a degree in theater with a focus in sound design. So it's great to be back. It feels like home.
Okay.
Yeah.
We're speaking with Nashville Shakespeare Festival Executive Director Isabel Tipton-Krispin. We'll be back after this important message.
Chef's Market reminds us that the arts help build well-rounded communities. They foster creativity and cultural understanding. They bring people together through shared experiences and support for local identity. Art programs promote education, economic growth, and emotional well-being. Interested in expanding your own creative horizons? Registration for the Max Fall Art Classes is now open. Go to monthavenarts.org/classes for more information.
We're back with Nashville Shakespeare Festival Executive Director Isabel Tipton-Krispin. The festival's summer production of The Merry Wives of Windsor runs August 21st to September 21st, 2025 at the Yard at One City. I mentioned to you when you came in that we have a pretty big outreach program here at Mont Haven. We send our art teachers out into the community to teach, to provide the sort of arts classes we otherwise do here to kids and families who might not otherwise be able to come in here and who might not be able otherwise be able to afford it. And our outreach is pretty big. It's a big deal to us, but I know you guys have outreach as well. And I'm wondering if you could talk a little bit about that, because I think no arts organization is worth its salt unless it can really get itself into the community and become relevant.
Absolutely. And I think there's a lot of, we're kind of kindred spirits, our organizations in that way, with bringing people in and also going out into the community. So for our education programs and with bringing students in, we have daytime student matinees for many of our main stage productions, particularly the indoor ones. So we do performances at 10 a.m. and kids can come in on field trips. We provide subsidized tickets for them. And if they're Title I schools, they come at no cost. And they come in, see a field trip production of one of our shows, one of our professional productions, and get to have a talk back with the actors and creatives after the show. But one of our other programs that I really love is called the Shakespeare Education Experience Tour, where we do an abridged version of a Shakespeare production. Usually it's about an hour, so it can fit within a class period. We get 5 professional actors, and we literally pack everything up in the van, the set, the costumes, the props, you name it, and we drive around and perform where they are and meet them where they are. And it's been so rewarding and so great because
So do you go to the schools, for instance?
Yeah.
Okay.
And we've performed everywhere. You name it, auditoriums, classrooms, cafetoriums, cafeterias, somebody's back porch, in a park, And so it's just really lovely to be able to bring Shakespeare to other communities, particularly rural communities that might not have access to professional theatrical experiences. And beyond that, we have a program called Shakespeare Aloud, in which we do a monthly reading session at the library the first Saturday of every month, the main branch of the library, in which we pick a Shakespeare play and literally read it round robin. And we've gone through the canon 6 times. And we have a sister program called Shakespeare Aloud at Room in the Inn, where we do the same thing at the homeless services shelter in Nashville. So it's been a really great program, and we love to invite as many community members as we can to engage with the works of William Shakespeare and let them know that William Shakespeare is for them and it's relevant to their lives, and these stories can relate to anyone.
What sort of feedback do you get from some of these young people? Because I can tell you that we've had kids that we actually will bring in here, maybe some under-resourced kids, and at the end of the day, we'll hear things like, "I don't think I'll ever look at art the same way again," or "I don't think I didn't know that this kind of thing existed, but I'm so glad to know." Our executive director loves it because it just brings tears to her, literally to her heart. She sees that. So, so tell me a little bit about the feedback, because people might think, well, Shakespeare, that's kind of elite, that's kind of removed.
Right.
It's a college seminar.
Right.
But what kind of impact might that have on kids?
Absolutely. I think most students and most adults, their first interaction with Shakespeare is reading it in a classroom. And there's a lot of value and beauty to just reading it as literature, but Shakespeare is meant to be heard and seen. And so what most students will tell us is that they're so surprised at how much they understood, how clear it was to them, how funny it is, how tragic it is. And it really is awesome to see students watch stories that are centuries old and be just as thrilled as maybe audiences were back then. And I myself, I relate to your executive director because we did a school tour, our Shakespeare Education Experience tour of Romeo and Juliet, and we went to an alternative learning center in Nashville. And one of the students wrote us a thank you card that said, "Thanks for performing Romeo and Juliet. I loved the old English your actors spoke. It makes me want to watch plays when I'm an adult."
Oh, what a wonderful thing.
Yeah, so I have that card hanging up in my office and I look at it often because that's really why we do what we do. We want to introduce it to folks, and maybe not everybody wants to, jump and start a career in the theater, but they can become arts lovers and arts appreciators and future patrons.
Yeah.
That's our hope for us.
Right. And isn't it just so wonderful if maybe some of these kids can spend some time watching Shakespeare or watching, Death of a Salesman or something else, if you've kindled this interest in them, as opposed to just looking at the screen of their cell phone.
Absolutely. Yeah, I mean, we did an adaptation of Pride and Prejudice in February because we do the works of Shakespeare, but we also celebrate the works of other notable playwrights and authors. And so there was a whole generation of teenagers who were not familiar with Pride and Prejudice at all. And I mean, we had a student matinee performance, and at the end, when Mr. Darcy and Elizabeth Bennet got together, they were hooting and hollering and clapping. Woohoo! They got together in the end. And then they told me they started discovering the movie, and actually now they're going to read the book and all that stuff, and that excites me.
Yeah,
that excites me a lot.
And I guess over time, it'll accomplish at least partly what I think Shakespeare wanted to do was to just share what these emotions are.
Yes.
Really focus on these human experiences that, are with us all the time. They maybe even burden us a great deal.
Yeah.
Make life kind of hard. But here, let's talk about this.
Yeah.
It's its own kind of therapy in a way.
Yeah, I completely agree. And I think that's why Shakespeare has had such longevity, because he's such a master of telling these universal stories. And the reason all of these stories have gone on and been performed so many times as they have is because human nature has not changed very much in 4 centuries. And everybody can see themselves in Shakespeare's characters.
Yeah. I worry actually that human nature hasn't changed much in 500 centuries, to be honest.
Probably that too.
I think there is a certain template.
Right.
Our technology changes, and one of our big challenges is that we can never keep up with that.
Right. I would agree with that.
So we're always trying to make amends or trying to compensate for or come up with a new regulation for the latest technology we've come up, which has made our lives more complicated.
Yeah, of course. I completely agree.
Yeah. What is your favorite Shakespeare play? I can share. I've already shared with Denise. Mine has always been Henry V.
Yeah, that's such a tough question. Like Denise, frequently it's the one that I'm closest to.
Oh yeah, that makes sense.
But and I know this is a lot of people's favorites, but Romeo and Juliet was one of my first introduction. We spoke about how my dad is an elementary school music teacher. I actually felt like my first introduction to Shakespeare was through classical music.
Well, that was actually mine too.
Yeah.
My background was classical piano.
Oh, wonderful. So like the Prokofiev score was kind of my first introduction to that. And then when I saw the movie, it matched exactly what I expected from the score. And every time I see it, even though I've seen it lots and lots of times, I just learn new things and hear new things. And Denise would say, it's a comedy until it isn't.
Yeah.
Because the first part is actually quite funny until the tragedy happens.
Right.
And so I always find myself discovering new things. So that's definitely one of my favorites. But I do think my favorite comedy is Much Ado About Nothing. Okay. Just because I see so many tropes of modern rom-coms in it. And I just, and I love the character of Beatrice.
Yeah. Well, yeah, Shakespeare did know how to grab our universal emotions. For me, just musically, I was always captivated by the people he influenced, like Leonard Bernstein.
Oh yeah. Oh, I love Leonard Bernstein.
Because I learned to identify by ear most of my intervals from the different songs from West Side Story. Because Leonard Bernstein, if you want to learn, the tritone.
Yeah.
Anything. I mean,
if you want to nerd out on Leonard Bernstein, maybe that's another podcast. I have a Leonard Bernstein tattoo.
No, tell me about your Bernstein stuff.
That's actually kind of how I came into wanting to do the arts professionally, because I was so moved by West Side Story. Just the music and the movie. It's always been my favorite movie, and the music is so captivating, and Jerome Robbins' choreography is so pedestrian, and yet it's so,
very athletic though, too, isn't it? I mean, that's like that. It's a challenge for the high school students to put on that play, because first of all, you have to have the leads have to be really good singers.
Oh yeah.
And of course, you also have to have at least some dancing skill. You don't have to be at Broadway level.
Yeah, right. And and my favorite song from West Side Story is "Cool" because of the intervals. It's just the wacky, chromatic, jazzy. I just feel like he spans everything. I mean, I think even when they do the dance at the gym, and the way that the music is composed sounds like sound bouncing off the ceilings of a gym, just stuff like that. It just helped open, when I was in high school and I really started getting into it, it just helped open my mind to what art could really be and all the layers that it has. And it's always been my number one musical piece of music.
It was my wife's as well. I mean, her favorite song is One Hand, One Heart. Yes. Which she insisted on having at our wedding.
It was in my wedding too.
Really? Okay. There you go.
Yeah, I walked down the aisle to that song. That was like my one thing at my wedding. I was like, listen, I could get married in a potato sack and eat McDonald's, but I need to walk down the aisle to One Hand, One Heart. That's one of my favorites too.
Okay, that's amazing. Well, a lot of people might think that Nashville Shakespeare Festival only focuses on the canon, but you guys actually have found some pretty creative things to do too. Now, you're doing something this year, I believe, called Fat Ham.
Yes.
All right, now you got to explain Fat Ham to the average listener here.
Yeah, right.
Who's wondering, what could that have to do with Shakespeare?
Sure, yeah. So Fat Ham is an adaptation of the play Hamlet, written by playwright James Imes. And it's a Pulitzer Prize winning drama and won the Tony Award for Best Play.
It is a remarkable piece. Yeah.
Yes, I'm so thrilled. We are co-producing it with the Nashville Repertory Theater. It's the first time we've done a co-production since 2008. So we're super thrilled about that. And it follows the life of the main character, Juicy, who is our Hamlet, and follows a very similar story in which his father passes away and his mother marries his uncle, and the ghost of his father arrives back to tell him to, seek revenge for his death. And but instead of it ending with everyone dying, they go on a journey of self-discovery, self-identity, and breaking cycles of violence in his family. And it's just such a beautiful modern take on one of the world's most famous stories.
Yeah. And as we were mentioning with West Side Story, you can't do wrong with Shakespeare.
Oh, yeah.
As a source of inspiration. Even if it's just a line like infinite jest,
yes,
which will then inspire, a novelist to write a 1,500-word masterpiece.
Yeah, of course.
So expand a little bit more on why Shakespeare Festival is doing this, because you talked about having an expanded season, or a new season, and why the festival is looking at these other kinds of work. So you're not just going to do, Taming of the Shrew or The Tempest or something like that.
Absolutely. Part of our mission is to do bold and relevant productions, and you can do incredibly bold and relevant productions just focusing on Shakespeare's canon. But in one way that we're accomplishing that mission is to expand our repertoire to include Shakespeare adjacent plays, plays about Shakespeare or plays that are inspired by Shakespeare. And so we really started to kick that off with, I believe 2 years ago, we did a piece called The African Company Presents Richard III, which told the story of the first African-American theater troupe in New York City and what they went through to put on their production of Richard III based on a true story by Carlisle Brown. And we have decided to continue on with that because one way that people see themselves in Shakespeare's stories is to see them through the lens of more modern characters or through more modern dialogue or things of that nature. So Fat Ham is a terrific example of that because it's not set in a particular time, but it's definitely set in a more modern time. And tells the story of self-discovery that I think many of us think about often. We're doing something similar, also inspired by Hamlet. We have another piece that we will be doing called A Room in the Castle by Lauren Gunderson, which will be a regional premiere.
Well, tell me a little bit about that. That's also related to or inspired by Hamlet, right?
Yes, it is. And it's a brand spanking new play. It was commissioned by the Folger Shakespeare Library and Cincinnati Shakespeare Company last year.
Okay, so this is now fresh off the press, right? Or almost.
And it centers on the women of Hamlet and how they experience the story of Hamlet in Gertrude's room. And so the only three characters in it are Ophelia, Gertrude, and a nursemaid. And it's basically what happens when the scenes of Hamlet are going on in the background or when they come back from a scene from Hamlet. So actually, there's some parts in the play that say, like, you know, this happens during X scene in Hamlet. And the director may or may not make the choice to like project what scene could have been occurring in the background or something like that.
Of course, this is important because they're all women, right? So we're getting a very, very, very different perspective.
Yes. And so...
And how is their perspective different in this regard?
I think their perspective is different because they're talking about Hamlet's descent into madness. I think when you read Hamlet, one might think that Ophelia went crazy. When I read Hamlet the first time, that was the narrative that was said. Ophelia went crazy. And certainly she does. But I think this kind of reframes it to talk about Hamlet's descent into madness in a way that is just really compelling. And Lauren Gunderson is a playwright. She's a very popular playwright, one of the most produced playwrights in the nation right now. And she has a series of work, all inspired by Shakespeare's plays. Her most famous being Book of Will, which is talking about how the first folio came together. But she has one called Exit Pursued by a Bear. And she has this one, of course. And she continues to create great plays inspired by Shakespeare. So we're very, very lucky to be the regional premiere of the show. And just another way to show folks a different perspective on a centuries-old story.
Yeah. Well, you're a theater person and have training in theater. So this is just a curiosity kind of question, but you were talking about some of the modernized presentations. I can think of operas by Verdi or others where, they'll take something out of, medieval Italy, and then they'll place it in a modern gas station.
Right.
What are your thoughts about that?
I think it's great, but all the decisions of how Shakespeare plays are placed need to be based upon the text. So if you told me I want to do Taming of the Shrew, but it's set on the moon, I would ask you, why would it be set on the moon? What in the text? So Denise Hicks, our former executive artistic director, did a production of Much Ado About Nothing. And in the beginning, if there are soldiers returning back from war, and she decided to set it in 1973, and the soldiers were returning back from the Vietnam War. And Beatrice is finding femininity, is, kind of working through her new status as a woman and her womanhood. And it really makes sense with the text of the show. But if you said, I want to do The Merry Wives of Windsor on a roller skating rink, I would say, what about the show and what text did you see that would make you relate to a roller skating rink? But I think so many people have gotten classic pieces and put them in new places. Even shows like Death of a Salesman and stuff for The Crucible that you might not think as very old pieces have been put in modern settings, and it's been beautifully done.
Okay. As the executive director and have been around for a while, what are you most proud of in terms of your accomplishments for the Shakespeare Festival? What do you think what are the big things it has been doing the last few years?
Yeah, I think the number one thing I'm most proud of is how many local artists we've been able to hire. It's something we take a lot of pride in because we want Nashville to be, in the Nashville area, the greater Nashville area, to be a place where professional artists can live and work and live full time, live year round. And for working actors and theater creatives in the city, there's only a few professional theaters. And so Nashville Shakespeare Festival is really proud to be able to give long contracts, living wage jobs to theater creatives in this community, so this can be a place where they can plant their roots and really thrive as artists in this community. So last year, I believe we hired around 90 local artists.
That's actually quite amazing.
And we take a lot of pride in that because that's one of the ways we support the community. Another big accomplishment during my time in the company and just for the company overall is we have a program called the Summer Conservatory Program that used to be tuition based for pre-professional and early career actors, and we have since secured major funding to make it completely tuition free.
Oh, wow.
So
that is very nice.
Yeah, so folks are able to get 3 weeks of intensive Shakespeare training and voice and speech, monologue coaching, fight direction, all of that stuff. And then they have the opportunity to join us in our summer company as a member of the cast or an emerging director. And they have a professional credit on their resume. So
I think that sounds amazing.
Thank you.
This is maybe a little bit more general, but what are some of the biggest challenges facing arts organizations in Nashville right around now? Not just Shakespeare Festival, but just in general.
Yeah, I mean, as you probably know, the philanthropic landscape has been changing so much over the past few years. And in Nashville proper, public arts funding is at risk. There's been a lot of turbulence and changes with Metro Arts in Nashville. If you want to go down that rabbit hole and you have a few hours and maybe a glass of beer, you can do that.
Sounds like I might need something a little stronger.
Right. But it's certainly been a challenge because most arts organizations have gotten really good at pivoting, especially through COVID and all that stuff. But funding is what makes the magic happen. Funding is what gives us the resources to give people jobs and to hire all these creatives and to reach as many community members as possible. So public arts funding and corporate philanthropy as well has really gone down for the arts for many folks. And it's something that we're continuing to work on ways to be financially sustainable while keeping our mission intact and providing as many jobs as possible. I'm very proud that Nashville Shakespeare Festival has managed to be in a good financial situation throughout all of this. But for example, we went from getting nearly $118,000 a year from Metro Arts one year to getting $38,000 the next with no warning.
We've had experiences like that as well. And I think one thing that's certainly a challenge for a lot of arts organizations is if public funding is declining.
Yes.
Then that's probably declining for all sorts of organizations, not just the arts.
Yeah.
So those organizations are now all going to the other the private funders like the foundations.
Yeah, right.
Who now have a much longer list of people coming to
there's
them.
a lot more people knocking on their door.
It's basically, more people coming for the same size pizza.
Yeah, right. And just trying to find ways to lift each other up. I think one thing that's really great about the Nashville arts community is, particularly the theater community, it feels like all boats rise. High tides, all boats rise. We really try to support each other through this. We don't see ourselves as competitors. We see ourselves as collaborators. So I've been grateful for that collaboration through all this. But certainly it has been challenging, particularly for the Nashville Shakespeare Festival. Our flagship program is Pay What You Will.
Right.
So it's free. We suggest a $10 donation, much like you all. I saw at the front door.
Yeah.
But when you don't have ticket sales, you don't know how many people will show up. If it rained, that was what happened with us last year. It rained for half of our performances.
Oh, I know. Well, we have our Sweet Summer Concert Series finale tonight.
Yes.
And actually, fingers crossed, it looks like we've had all of them. this summer.
Oh, great.
I
That's
think we had
amazing.
like half of them canceled last year.
Yeah,
And it was just
right.
that our poor executive director was ready to rip her hair out because we still have to go out and rent the stage and
Yeah,
do all
of
this
course.
other stuff.
Yeah.
And it's just nothing comes of it then.
Yeah, and of course, I mean, with us, we pay the artists no matter what, right? They're on contracts, and they were planning on playing, and we don't want to, leave them in a lurch. So we pay the actors and all the pre-show acts. We have the stage, all that stuff, no matter whether it rains or not. And you just cross your fingers and hope it doesn't.
Right.
But our community has been so incredible through all of it, and we're just continuing to push through as we've done for 37 years.
Yeah, and of course, as you were kind of intimating, arts organizations by nature are very creative.
Yes.
And so I have seen that arts groups are very good at pivoting.
Yeah.
And they seem to make their way no matter what, and
Yeah.
emerge often stronger
Yes.
and more creative and more resilient.
I agree. And I mean, it's probably no surprise that an organization that started with just a group of actors in the corner of the park with no permit, pointing their car headlights so people could see them, are crafty enough to figure out how to last this long.
Good for you guys. Well, let me ask you, maybe as just a final question, somewhat related to that. We just started off that simply. Where do you see the Shakespeare Festival in 5 years? Where are you guys going?
I would love to see the festival as a both locally, regionally, and even nationally known place where people can just see excellent theater. I don't even want the qualifier of great Shakespeare or great classical theater, just great theater where people see it and it's a reflection of their community and it's relevant to their lives. That's really what we're all working toward. And our hope is to reach as many people as possible and for as many people to be moved by what we do. And then getting, more into brass tacks, I would love for us to, have a net zero budget every year and,
And some years you will.
yeah, right. Yeah. And continuing to grow in our financial sustainability, continuing to grow our full-time and part-time staff, and just continuing to expand. We've been a small but mighty organization for many, many years, but we are on the cusp of a lot of really great growth. So I'm really excited to see where we go.
Yeah. We're speaking with Nashville Shakespeare Festival Executive Director Isabel Tipton-Krispin. We'll be back after this important message.
Chef's Market reminds us that the arts help build well-rounded communities. They foster creativity and cultural understanding. They bring people together through shared experiences and support for local identity. Art programs promote education, economic growth, and emotional well-being. Interested in expanding your own creative horizons? Registration for the Max Fall Art Classes is now open. Go to monthavenarts.org/classes for more information.
We're back with Nashville Shakespeare Festival Executive Director Isabel Tipton-Krispin. The festival's summer production of The Merry Wives of Windsor runs August 21st to September 21st, 2025 at the Yard at One City. Well, I have to tell people out there that Shakespeare is not a luxury. Mm-hmm. He's not the cherry on top he's not dessert. He's a real necessity. For our souls.
Yes.
He is the main course, and he enriches our lives. So we're just so grateful that Shakespeare Festival is here in Nashville.
Thank you.
I think it has the power to really change the lives of a lot of kids.
Thank
I
you.
think that's the
appreciate
most
that.
important thing about it.
Yeah.
They'll see this and their lives will never be the same. They will be thinking on a much more sophisticated emotional level, and that's going to help them in every aspect of their lives, no matter what they do.
Thank you. I think that's what really fills my cup every year when I see kids sitting on their blankets, and it might be the first theater they see ever, but certainly many of them it's the first Shakespeare they see. Mm-hmm. And I brought my 8-year-old niece a few years ago to Much Ado About Nothing, thinking, okay, how much of this is she really going to get? It's like 2.5 hours long. And she sat in the front row completely like enwrapped the entire time. And on the drive home, I asked her to tell me the plot, and she got it exactly right.
Wow.
With character names and all of it. And I think sometimes we really underestimate youth. Like, they get it. They get it. And they see things in it that maybe we as adults don't. And it's a really thrilling part of my job to be able to provide that to so many people in our community.
Yeah. And a lot of people might think, do we really need to see Romeo and Juliet again? I mean, how many times has that been performed? But what people need to remember is that there are going to be a lot of kids out there who are seeing it for the very first time.
Yes.
And so it's as new for them as it was, in the Elizabethan era.
Yes, exactly.
And it's going to have that kind of a profound impact on them. So
Yeah, I agree.
Well, Isabel, I can see why they brought you into the Shakespeare Festival. You're a wonderful spokesperson.
Thank you very much.
Festival. And I'm so grateful you could be here at Mac Talk. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.
You've been listening to Mac Talk from Mont Haven Arts and Cultural Center. Our mission is to educate, elevate, and encourage our community through the transformative power of the arts. If you're interested in transforming your creative life, check out our website at monthavenarts.org. Our guest today was Nashville Shakespeare Festival Executive Director Isabel Tipton-Krispin. The festival summer production of The Merry Wives of Windsor runs August 21st to September 21st, 2025 at the Yard at One City in Nashville. For more information, go to nashvilleshakes.org. Our podcast music was written by Nashville composer Christina Spinay. I'm Kennedy Galpin. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you next time.